So, I mean, is this a real recipe for chocolate chips? I have no idea, but we're going to be using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of fractions. It's just depending on how you want to look at the operations. It's possible to only use three of the operations here, but either way. Now, since we're going to be using some addition and subtraction, what I'd like to do first is take the mixed numbers and change them into improper fractions. So that means I would start with the 2 1/4. Yeah, let's apply cycle method, the 2 1/4 there. So that'd be 2 times 4, which is 8, and then add the 1 numerator there to make that 9. So that's, in flour, that's the same as 9/4. Now I don't have to label it in cups. Maybe I should have separated that. Separate those two. That's 9/4 cups, but of course we'll be operating with this, so we'll keep it as an improper fraction there. But we don't really need the label. So cycle method on the 1 1/3 as well. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3, plus the 1 is 4. That'd be 4/3 teaspoons of baking soda there. Of course, the 1 cup of soft butter is okay, and the 2 large eggs, that's not a problem. But let's take the 1 1/4 there, cups of granulated sugar, and we'll cycle method it. So 1 times 4 first, which is 4, plus 1 is 5. That'd be 5/4 cups of granulated sugar there. And then the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, yeah, that's not a problem, but it's going to take the 1 1/2 and change it into improper fraction. That'd be 1 times 2, which is 2, plus 1 is 3. So the denominator doesn't change, right? So that's 3/2 tablespoons of salt. 2 cups of chocolate chips, again, that's not a problem. 1 3/4, let's go ahead and use cycle method on it. Change it to an improper fraction. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7, so 7/4 cups of chopped nuts. So now that we have these improper fractions, when we operate, we're going to be using these improper fractions. And I'm okay if you write your answers as improper fractions, because there's nowhere on this assignment that I remember seeing that says, hey, all your answers need to be as mixed numbers. Here's our serving size, 15 cookies. Right now we're looking to double this recipe. So all these values we need to double. Now, double means a couple things, and we're going to show both ways. Before we operate, let's show these as their improper fractions, which we already saw. Now, while I'm going to be able to fit all this in the line, if you need more space, feel free to do that on a separate sheet of scratch paper. When you turn this in, though, just make sure that the work is organized. You do need to show work on all of these if you want full credit. See, if I look at them and I can't find your work, then boom, it's going to take points off. Okay, even if your answers are correct, we need to see the work on that. Okay. Now all these were doubling. Now double would indicate that if you took one of these numbers and just multiplied it by 2, that would work, right? So 9/4 times 2, I would just make it 2 over 1 since we're using some fraction multiplication. And then I'd say, well, the 2 and 4, these can be cross-simplified. Do you have to cross-simplify? Of course not. But I see that they can, so I will. So these are both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And so this will give us a new, more simplified fraction here. 9 times 1 there is 9. 2 times 1 there, and the denominator is 2. So 9 over 2. And we will just look to see if this improper fraction can be reduced. I do not see that it can. So 9 over 2, again, just don't forget to label this. That would be in cups. If by chance you did change it into a mixed number, I'll still show it to you. That'd be 4 1/2 cups. So either one of these will work. They are exactly the same value, and both are acceptable because this assignment did not specify if it wanted the answers as mixed numbers or improper fractions. So that's one way to do it, is just to simply multiply it by 2. But if by chance you prefer to add the values, you can. Here's what I mean is, since we're taking 4/3, we're going to double it. It's just saying we're going to add it to itself. This really is just the expanded format of multiply by 2. So again, it comes down to a matter of preference here. So we're still dealing in thirds. I'm going to skip the step where we show the 4 plus 4 because we know 4 plus 4 is 8. So 8 thirds, and that would give us this fraction. Again, that's the improper fraction, 8 thirds. And this is in teaspoons. I just write this as TSP, teaspoons of, well, what's that, soda, baking soda. But again, I'll show you the mixed number, which in this case would have been 2 and 2/3 teaspoons. Now, I'm not writing the actual ingredients here. They're on the same line, so that's good enough for me. But if you wanted to write those in yourself, that'd be fine. Like 2 and 2/3 teaspoons of baking soda, no problems with it. It's more specific, but it's more work than I should need to do at this time. Okay, so 1 cup of softened butter. Well, we're saying there's 2 groups of it because it's being doubled. So 1 times 2, of course, is 2. 2 cups of softened butter. All right, next line, what about 2 eggs? All right, well, that's 2 groups of 2 eggs, so 2 times 2, and 2 times 2, I get 4. If you double this recipe, you're going to need 4 eggs. So I don't know. We can multiply, we can add. It's really up to you guys. Well, that's what we'll do then. Let's just multiply by 2. So I'm going to just plan on multiplying all the rest of these improper fractions by 2 as well. And that's generally the most preferred format that we use to see. So again, I'm multiplying this by 2. I'm going to show it as 2 over 1 so that we can do some fraction multiplication. Now, I'm not going to cross simplify on this one just because it doesn't matter, right? And so I'm just showing you that it won't matter. But in the end, you should come up with the simplified form, okay? So 5 times 2 in the numerator is 10. 4 times 1 in the denominator is 4. And then we see that these two values can be simplified by division of 2, right? These are both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. That's our numerator. 4 divided by 2 in the denominator is 2. And this is cups of granulated sugar, so let's go and label this in cups. Or, as the mixed number would be, 2 1/2 cups. We'll stick with that method when we see any of these improper fractions. Now this next one, though, with teaspoons of vanilla, it's just 1 teaspoon, so that's pretty simple. Just take that 1 teaspoon, multiply it by 2. 2 groups of that 1 teaspoon would be 2 teaspoons. What about 3/2 teaspoons of salt? Well, let's go and multiply this by 2. And I will cross simplify on this one, purely out of ease on this, because it's 2 over 1 right there. And so I see, well, the 2 and 2 are both divisible by each other. 2 divided by 2 is phantom 1. And so what are we left with? You'd have the 3 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. Just make it a 3. So our final answer here would be 3 teaspoons of salt. And the 2 cups of chocolate chips, well, we're going to have 2 groups of that. And so that would give us 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So, yeah, that'd be 4 cups of chocolate chips. And then our last ingredient, chopped nuts. 1 3/4 cups of chopped nuts. Yeah, let's keep with the multiplication. And again, I'll show it as 2 over 1. This one, since I did cross simplification on that last one, I'll do straight multiplication on this one. In the numerator, 7 times 2 is 14. In the denominator, 4 times 1 is 4. These are both divisible by 2, so simplifying these by 2 changes this into 14 divided by 2 is 7 in the numerator. 4 divided by 2 in the denominator is 2. 7/2, and this was cups of chopped nuts. Or, if you wanted the mixed number, that would be 3 1/2 cups. It's the same thing. And this is as much work as we need to see. Like if you're like, well, I wanted to show more work, you're welcome to show more work as well, of course. But whether you show the mixed number or improper fraction is okay. And what we've shown here throughout is enough work. Even just showing this multiplied by 2s kind of stuff That's perfectly fine. That would be considered plenty of work. So there's the second part here. We want to cut this recipe in half. Okay, there's a good one, and I'm going to show it a couple different ways. But after I show the second way, that's the only method that I'm going to use. So the first method, it's going to add an extra step, which you'll see. Um, well, you'll see why as we do this problem. Let's look at the improper fractions first. All right, I think I got all those improper fractions in there, which we found already. So I just filled those in from the values we found before. And on these, we're going to cut these in half. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top here with the flour, and cutting in half indicates that we would be dividing by 2. Now, since we're using fractions here, that means we got to look at the 2 as a fraction as 2 over 1, because remember, we don't actually divide the fractions. We end up multiplying them, right? So that means that the 9/4 will stay 9/4, but the 2 over 1, if I change this operation of multiplication, I got to reciprocate that fraction. So that would be 1 over 2. And then, however you want to do this. Oh, I guess there's no cross multiplication at this point. So multiply the two numerators. 9 times 1 in the numerator is 9. Multiply the two denominators. 4 times 2 is 8. And here's our improper fraction, 9/8. And this is still cups. So this would be okay as the improper fraction. If we change it into a mixed number, you'd get 1 and 1/8 cups. Again, you only need one or the other, not both, but I'm showing you both just in case you want it. All right, so what you'll notice from this problem here that we just did is, at least with this method, is when you divide by 2, right, we're going to always have to change it to multiply by 1/2. So that's what I'm going to end up doing with all these problems, is just saying, hey, look, we can take this 4/3 and just multiply it by 1/2. It's the same thing as cutting it in half, it's the recipe. It's like saying, well, we want half a group of 4/3. That's exactly what this is saying, half of the recipe. So right here, it seems like we didn't do cross multiplication on the last one. So I'm going to cross simplify here the 4 and 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then multiplying these, 2 times 1 is 2. And the denominator, 3 times 1 is 3. So that simplified it pretty well for us to give us 2/3 rather. 2/3 cups, no, teaspoons, dang it. Teaspoons of baking powder. And yes, this is, that's fully simplified. It's not, wouldn't even want to change that into a mixed number. So you'll see I'll just multiply these all by, all the improper fractions by 1/2. However, if I see something like this with the 1 cup of butter, I know if I just divide it by 2 right here, hopefully we understand that would just be 1/2 right there. Or if you wanted to, you could say, well, it's 1 cup of butter, just multiply it by 1/2. Anything multiplied by 1 is just itself, so that's how you're going to get that 1/2 right there. Either way, 1/2 cups, I don't know, half a cup, there we go, softened butter. So large eggs as well, well, we should be able to do 2 divided by 2 because we know anything divided by itself is 1. So 1 egg if you cut that in half. 2 eggs in it. All right, 5/4. Yeah, we need to cut this in half as well. So I'll multiply that by 1 over 2. And in the numerator, I got 5 times 1 is 5. Denominator 4 times 2 is 8. And yeah, that's already a proper fraction, so we're going to show it as 5/8. And this is in cups of the granulated sugar, so cups. Vanilla, yeah, we've already taken 1 and multiplied it by 1/2. It doesn't really matter. Anything times 1 is itself, so just 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And now on to the salt, and 3/2 teaspoons of salt. But we're going to take this and cut it in half. So multiply by 1 over 2. So in the numerator, 3 times 1 is 3. And the denominator 2 times 2 is 4. 3/4. This is also in teaspoons. 3/4 teaspoons of salt. And then 2 cups of chocolate chips. Again, you could just say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and divide that by 2. Because anything divided by itself is 1. So that would give us 1. 1 cup specifically. 1 cup of chocolate chips. And then on to the chopped nuts. So 7/4 cups of chopped nuts. But once again, you need to multiply that by 1/2, 1/2. So that cuts that in half. And with the multiplication, in the numerator I got 7 times 1, which is 7. In the denominator, 4 times 2 is 8. And that is a proper fraction. So that's how we'll write it in our answer. 7/8. This was cups of chopped nuts. So on this one it says, well, we need to figure out how much of the ingredients we need for 45 cookies. But before we do that, just understand that we need to understand what we're doing to the recipe here, right? So I would look here at 15 cookies, which is one full recipe. And I'd say, well, 15 cookies, that's one recipe. That's okay. But if I add another 15 cookies, this would be like doubling the recipe, right? Well, that would make 30 cookies, right? So 15 is one recipe, 30 doubles it. If I add another 15 to that, I'm just looking for some kind of relationship of multiples and this 45 cookies, which is what we need to do first so that we know how to treat these values for the ingredients. 0 plus 5 is 5, 3 plus 1 is 4, 45. And that's the third multiple. So when it says, hey, we want to know how much ingredients for 45 cookies, we see that 45 is the third multiple of 15, which means that we're looking to triple this recipe. So triple indicates that we're going to just multiply everything by 3. So now that we have that down, let's go ahead and change all of our mixed numbers back into their improper fractions. All right, there we go. So we have all these mixed numbers changed into improper fractions, but now we need to triple all of these, okay? So I'm going to start with, just start at the top again with our flour, and we're going to triple this. So that means that I'd have to multiply this by 3. Of course, I'm going to show it as 3 over 1 so that we can have some fraction multiplication on this. And 9 times 3 in the numerator, that would be 27. 4 times 1 in the denominator is 4, so 27/4. Again, it's okay to have this as an improper fraction. 27/4, that'd be cups. If by chance you wanted to change it into a mixed number, not that you have to, but you're welcome to if you'd like. That appears to be 6 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Either one will work. And what do we get on the 4/3 for baking soda? This is in teaspoons. Well, we're going to multiply this by 3, right? And I see I can make that 3 over 1, but the 3 is going to cross simplify because of, well, they divide each other. And that would leave us then with 4 over 1. I just like to see that as 4. Make that a phantom divide by 1. So that'd be 4 teaspoons of baking soda. Okay, so that was nice tripling when you're dealing with thirds because it really just kind of cancels away those thirds right there. So let's go ahead and triple 1 cup of softened butter. So 3 groups of that 1 cup, well, that'd be 3 cups. What about 2 large eggs? Well, we're going to triple that as well. So 3 groups of those 2 eggs, 3 times 2, 6. 6 eggs. And the 5/4 cups of granulated sugar, yes, let's go ahead and multiply this by 3 also. I'll show it as 3 over 1. In the numerator, 5 times 3 is 15. The denominator, 4 times 1 is 4. So 15/4 would be our improper fraction. Always check this, just make sure that these cannot be simplified. I mean, they're coming out very nicely right now, that they cannot be simplified. I mean, that makes things really convenient. But again, the mixed number for this one would be 3 3/4 cups. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Well, yeah, just triple that again. So multiply it by 3. 3 groups of 1 would be 3. 3 teaspoons of that vanilla extract. Then we got the 3/2. Well, just triple this. So multiply it by 3. Again, I'll show it as 3 over 1. So we can do some fraction multiplication. In the numerator, 3 times 3 is 9. And the denominator, 2 times 1 is 2. So that's 9/2. Again, that's an okay improper fraction. It's fully simplified. This was teaspoons of salt. But again, I'll show the mixed number, although it's not required that you do. Be 4 1/2 teaspoons of salt. And then the 2 cups of chocolate chips. Well, we want 3 groups of that, so multiply it by 3. 2 times 3, 6 cups of chocolate chips. So again, that's a whole value, so no need to change that into a mixed number or improper fraction. And then finally, 7/4. Go ahead and triple that. So multiply by 3, I'll make it 3 over 1. Multiplying the numerators, 7 times 3 is 21. 4 times 1 is 4, so 21/4. Again, this would be our improper fraction. In cups of chopped nuts. Or, if you like, the mixed number, it's be 5 1/4 cups. The directions for the recipe state that if you are baking at a high altitude, you should reduce the amount of sugar from 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar to 2/3 cups of sugar. How much less sugar are you using? Well, how much less sugar would indicate that we're going to have to use some subtraction on this. Because we're going from a high value down to a low value, and the difference between those two will be how much less sugar is being used. Of course, we know that 2/3 cups total in the end is being used for a high altitude, but we don't know how much less. We've got to subtract these two from each other. So this would be the same as taking the 1 1/4. That's how much the original recipe calls for. And then we're reducing this down to 2/3. Okay, and the difference is how much sugar essentially is saved in this in the difference between the two. Now we've already changed 1 1/4, right? We already know that that would be the same as 5/4. So I'm not going to worry about showing the work on that. I hope that's okay. Of course, you just use cycle methods to do that, but now we have 2 fractions being subtracted and the denominators do not match. So we've got to force the denominators to be the same. I'm just going to multiply the denominators by each other. So there's 4 denominator. I'm going to multiply it by a fraction of the other into the other fraction. So that's going to change those values into the numerator 2 times 4 is 8. And the denominator 3 times 4 is 12. So that's 8/12. And then the 3 denominator, I'm going to multiply it by the denominator and numerator of the other fraction. So that'd be in the numerator 5 times 3 is 15. And then the denominator 4 times 3 is 12. So see how that forced those denominators to match? You don't have to use that method. You could have used the list, but I think you would have came up with the same answer in either case. So we're going to subtract those, but the denominator is going to stay the same. We're just going to take 15 and subtract 8. I'm not going to stack those. I think that should be something that we feel pretty comfortable with. 15 minus 8 is 7. So 7/12. And that can't be simplified, which means that we've really reached the conclusion on this one. It'd be 7/12 cups less You can be more explicit than that if you'd like, but that's about as far as I want to go on this one. 7/12 cups less sugar. That still sounds weird to me. You'd use 7/12 cups less sugar. I don't know if that sounds better. I'm going to stop there. I feel like I'm embarrassing myself. In addition to the cookies, original recipe, 15 cookies, of course, you are also baking banana nut bread. You need 3/4 cup of chopped nuts for the banana bread. How many cups total of chopped nuts will you need? Now, up here, we've already highlighted, well, not highlighted, but this is showing right here how much cups of chopped nuts were in the original recipe. Now, in addition to that, we need 3/4 cups of nuts, chopped. Okay, so we're going to take that 1 3/4 cups of chopped nuts. Let's go write that in, 1 3/4, and we need to add it to the 3/4 cups of chopped nuts for the banana bread, banana nut bread. Okay. Well, we've already changed 1 3/4 into improper fraction, right? So I'm not going to show the word for that, but it would be 7/4, and we would add the 3/4 to that. Now this is great because the denominators already match. So I'm going to show this in fourths. Got a little bigger. And we're going to take the 7 and 3 numerators and add those together, which is still in fourths, but 7 plus 3 is 10. 10/4. This can be simplified. Both the 10 and the 4 are divisible by 2. That's pretty good. 4 divided by 2 in the denominator is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I should have given myself more space. And again, it's okay with improper fraction. Um, so I'm going to put that in cups, right? We need 5/2 cups. But I'm also going to show the mixed number on this one, just in case you like it. 2 1/2 cups. Again, it doesn't really matter which one you want. Both will work on this assignment, okay? So 5/2 cups of chopped nuts, or 2 1/2 cups of chopped nuts. And we're going to need these values for the next problem. You are concerned that you won't have enough chopped nuts. If you have 3 cups of chopped nuts in your pantry, will you have enough? If not, how much more do you need? If yes, how much more? How much will you have left over? Well, remember, and perhaps the mixed number would be a little bit better on this one, but we only needed, with both the banana nut bread and the cookies, we only needed 2 1/2 cups of chopped nuts. Well, if you have 3 in the pantry, 3 is bigger than 2 1/2. So will you have enough? Yes, you will. You will definitely have enough, which means that we're not really concerned with this part of the question. But if yes, how much more will you have left over? Well, okay, we can figure that out. Okay, so it says you got 3 cups in the pantry, so 3. If you use up the 2 1/2, that would indicate that we're subtracting here. And we already saw from the previous slide that the 2 1/2 is the same as 5/2. Well, why do we want that? Well, we're subtracting with fractions here. So I'm going to show this as 3/1 also. And right now I'm going to force the denominators to be the same. So I'm just going to make the denominator 2 of that first fraction. I'm going to keep the second fraction the same as 5/2. But I would have to multiply the 1 by 2 to make it a denominator of 2 that matches, but I'd have to scale the 3 by 2 as well. So that'd be 6/2. And now we need to subtract those two numerators. Of course, the denominator is still 2. So now we got 6 minus 5 in the numerator. And, well, 6 minus 5 is 1. Denominator stays the same as 2, and so this would be how much leftover chopped nuts you would have if you had 3 cups in the pantry and having used 2 1/2 cups in the bread and the cookies.